Hi, this is Amy Romeo from the jewelry making and craft blog amyromeo.com, and on this channel I like to share fun and easy jewelry making and craft projects. Today I have a really fun summery and patriotic faux leather keychain project for you. I've designed a flip flop keychain that we're going to make using faux leather, heat transfer vinyl, and a Cricut. I have two versions. One is simple, where you can use a patterned faux leather, which is really fun for the bottom of the flip flop. And then the other one of the flip flops has the blue stars and the other flip flop has red stripes. Really cute, perfect for summer. And I'll show you how to make both of them, and we'll walk through the entire process from uploading the SVG to cutting out the faux leather and the heat transfer vinyl mats, and then pressing, gluing, and assembling your keychain. So if you're ready to learn how to make this project, let's get started. Let's go over the tools and materials I'll be using to make these really cute flip-flop keychains using faux leather, heat transfer vinyl, and a Cricut. I'll be using my Cricut Maker, but you could also use the Maker 3, the Explore Air 2, the Explore 3, or even the Cricut Joy, and that's because I'll be using the standard fine point blade that comes with all 5 of those machines. The faux leather that I'll be using is from one of my favorite faux leather suppliers on Etsy. I will link to them for you, as well as all of the materials in this video in the description. And I'm also using some white faux leather that comes on a roll from Amazon. The heat transfer vinyl I'm using is some glitter heat transfer vinyl, but you could use regular heat transfer vinyl or foil iron-on. It's really up to you. To press the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I'll be using my Easy Press Mini set on the low setting. You could also use a regular Easy Press set to about 265 degrees. If you're using a larger heat press, then you'll want to do a little bit of experimenting with your heat press so that you can get the right pressure. If we use too much pressure when pressing the vinyl onto the faux leather, you can flatten out the faux leather. So it'll just take a little bit of testing for you, and then you should be able to use one of those presses as well. I'll also have a little Teflon sheet or some kind of a cover sheet like butcher paper or parchment paper to protect my surface when pressing, and also a heat pressing pad. To weed the vinyl, I'll be using some weeding tools. I have a pin pen that I love and also a standard weeding hook. I have some craft scissors, and then to glue the faux leather together after we've pressed the vinyl on our keychain, I'm going to use some of this Fabri-Tac glue. You could also use a good fabric glue that you have at home and love using. You can also use a craft glue like the Bearly Art glue. I love that one too. And I'll show you a special trick that I have toward the end of the video to really get these faux leather keychains nice and flat. Then the key ring, I like to use, these are 1 1/4 inch split key rings. I get these on Amazon also. They come in a sort of a silver finish or a gold finish. And then if you wanted to add an optional tassel, there are tons of these really cute faux suede tassels, and they have little metal colored tops. So I like to buy the coordinating metal that matches back to my keychain. And I'll show you these. There's a bunch of different sizes and colors. To attach the tassel to the key ring, I'm just going to use some jump rings. These are 8mm size, but you could go anywhere from 8 to 12mm size, just to attach that little tassel using some jewelry making pliers. And finally, you'll need the SVGs for this project, and let me show you in the next step how to go ahead and grab those so we can start making our keychains. So to make this project, you'll want to get the SVG for the keychain from my SVG shop. I have hundreds of SVGs in my shop for keychains and earrings. At the time I'm recording this, I don't have the SVG for this project in my shop yet, but by the time you're watching this video, it will be there. You can click on the link here on the screen or get the link in the description. It'll bring you to a product page, just like my taco earrings SVG, and you'll see that you can either choose a personal use version or you can choose a small commercial use version, which gives you a commercial use license to sell physical products made from my designs. Then you'll check out and you'll receive an email, and you will download the SVG folder. The folder will be zipped, and you will need to unzip it before you can upload the unzipped SVG file to Cricut Design Space. So starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload, and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where your unzipped SVG files for this project are. you'll click on upload, you'll upload them one at a time, and then they'll appear here in your recent uploads row. So I have what I'm calling a simple keychain and a patriotic keychain. So we will make this one first, the simple flip-flops, and then I'll circle back and show you how to make the patriotic one. So I'll click on the simple one to start and then add to my canvas. And you can see the size here. The height of this fold over flip-flop keychain is 7.17 inches. This is a little large if you want to cut this on a Joy size mat. So if you're using the Cricut Joy, be sure to adjust this size down a little, either by dragging this little size box in or by adjusting the height here in the size box in the top panel. But you can see there's two layers here. The bottom is going to cut from faux leather, the sort of lighter pink, and then the little thong pieces will cut from heat transfer vinyl. So I'm ready to go ahead and make this, so I'll click the Make It button. I'm cutting my material on a mat. And now my two mats have loaded here. The first is my vinyl mat, and I'm going to click the mirror button on that because heat transfer vinyl cuts in reverse. And then the second is my faux leather mat, and that also cuts in reverse, so I will click the mirror toggle as well. If you are cutting the vinyl mat from permanent vinyl, then you would not mirror because permanent vinyl does not cut in reverse. I hope that makes sense. I'm using two products that cut face down and cut in reverse, so I've mirrored both my mats. Now on this faux leather mat, I just want to drag my shape a little bit away from the top and the edge of the mat edges. I'm also going to make a note of what size faux leather I need to cut from my larger piece to put down on my mat. So it looks like it'll be a piece about 3.5 inches wide and 8 inches tall. And then for the vinyl mat, I'll do the same thing. Just kind of drag the shapes apart from the edge and from each other a little bit and make a note of the size. So 6 inches wide and about 2.5 inches tall. I'll click back on the faux leather mat because I want to cut that one first and click continue. So I'm using the faux leather paper thin setting. That's what I recommend for cutting faux leather with a Cricut. If you don't have this cut setting here bookmarked as a favorite, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you'll be able to locate this material setting. For the vinyl setting, you're going to want to use whatever material setting corresponds with your chosen vinyl. So I'm using glitter vinyl from Caesar, which is a little thicker. So I will use the glitter vinyl setting with default pressure, and I will repeat the cut one time. And for the faux leather mat, I'll use the faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure, and I'll repeat the cut as needed. And I'll show you how to do that now as we hop back over and to my overhead camera, and we'll start cutting out these mats. So I've already trimmed my faux leather down to that size I noted in the mat preview screen. And as I mentioned, it's going to go face down. I'm going to use the purple strong grip mat for cutting faux leather. But if you're using the Cricut Joy and you just have that little green mat that it comes with, you can use that too. So face down in the spot that I noted on the mat preview screen. And then I'm going to use blue painter's tape to tape around on all sides to help us get a really good cut on our faux leather. So I just already have some pre-cut pieces of blue painter's tape. I'm reusing this. I reuse my blue painter's tape pieces quite a few times before I have to throw them out. So that's a great way to make your blue painter's tape purchase go a little further. So I've got that tape down on all sides. And I already have that faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure ready to go. So we'll just load our mat and begin the cut. So the faux leather mat has cut one time, and I always like to use a sharp weeding tool before I unload the mat, once the cut is complete, to just sort of lift under here and see how my shape cut out. This one looks pretty good, but if your shape did not cut out well, or when you're lifting up, it's not pulling up all the way because it's still connected to the border of the faux leather, then you want to repeat the cut. And this is very common with cutting faux leather. It's a great way to make sure that your shapes cut out nicely. As long as you haven't unloaded your mat, you can repeat the cut. And on the larger machines, you do that by just pressing the cut button again. On the Joy, you'll find the prompt to rerun your cut on your Design Space screen, and you'll click on it to rerun the cut. So this actually looks pretty good, but if I wanted to rerun the cut, I would just press the C button again. Do it as many times as you need, as long as you don't unload your mat. But I'm gonna go ahead and unload, and I'll peel up my keychain. This is a new and very sticky mat, so I'm going to be careful not to pull too hard on this. And this is a great time to show you how the fold over style keychain works. It just folds over. We'll end up gluing this part and the little key ring goes here. But before we glue, we want to press our heat transfer vinyl design onto the faux leather. So let's go ahead and get that cut out. So to cut out the vinyl mat, I'll be using a green standard grip cutting mat. And I just looked back in Design Space at what size vinyl I need to cut out the little shapes completely. I've already trimmed it out of my vinyl, and I'm just going to place it down on my green mat. And remember, we need to change that cut setting. I'm using glitter vinyl with default pressure. And as I mentioned, I will repeat the cut one time on this because it is thicker glitter vinyl, but you may not need to repeat the cut. So my vinyl mat cut is complete. I'll go ahead and unload the mat. And then we'll just weed away the excess vinyl. While I'm doing this, I have my Easy Press Mini warming up to the low setting. Again, if you're using a regular Easy Press, I would set it to 265 degrees, and you can always go up from there. So I have my heat pressing pad ready. I'm going to use my little scissors and just trim apart these two shapes. Aren't those cute? I've got my faux leather shape ready to go. And then now I'm just going to line up. So basically I'm lining up the edges. See these little bumps that come out? These little bumps that come out, they line up with the edges of the vinyl layer. So I'm just going to line those up. Let me hold that up so you can see it. Isn't that cute? See how that lines up? And then I'm going to cover with my little piece of Teflon sheet. So if you make t-shirts, you might have these Teflon sheets, but larger. I use them and I just trim them down to size because I make a lot of smaller earring and keychain projects. So Easy Press Mini on low. I'm just going to press for about 10 seconds. If you're using a regular Easy Press, you don't need to move it like I am. You can just place it down. This will be warm to the touch, so be careful. I'm just going to carefully peel away that clear cover sheet. And you can see how cute that looks. So let's repeat on the other side. There we go. And that looks really good. So we do want to let this cool down a little bit. What I like to do is just set this down and place my heat pressing pad on top, let it cool. I'm going to move these items out of the way. We'll be doing the Patriotic keychain next, and I'll be using these two glitter vinyls along with this faux leather. But what I want to do is get ready to glue, and I'm going to be pressing the glued keychain down with a heavy book. So I'm going to set that over here so it's ready to go. There we go. And the first step in gluing the keychain is to slide the key ring on first. And that way we're not struggling to put it on and maybe messing up this little skinny piece of faux leather after. So I'm just going to fold this, sort of roll it up, slide the key ring on. Again, you can use any color you want. I'll move this out of the way. I'm going to place this down on my craft mat. And using the fabric glue, I just want to glue all around. I want to get up close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge, because when we press this down, the glue will seal it, seal the edge. It will seep a little closer to the edge and it will seal up that edge nicely. So we want to make sure we don't have any glue sort of goobers. There's one. We'll just keep going around till we get all the areas covered. And you don't want to put glue on this middle part because that's where the key ring goes. So now I'm just going to fold this over. And I'm going to carefully line up the edges. Let me pick it up so I can show you. Just sort of matching up the edges So when it glues, you're not going to see the other side of the faux leather when you flip it over. And that actually looks really good. So now I'm just going to take this and put it underneath my book. I'll let the keyring part stay out and we'll let that dry. And then we'll check it and see if we need to touch up the edges at all or if we need to put any more glue on the edges, but that should be good. So let's hop back into Design Space and we'll get the mats cut out for the Patriotic Flip Flop Keychains. We'll get that one made, dried, and I'll show you how to attach the tassels. So back in Cricut Design Space, we're going to go ahead and upload the other SVG for the Patriotic Flip Flop Keychain and bring it onto the canvas. And this one will be very similar to the first one we did, except there will be 2 vinyl layers to cut instead of 1. Again, if you're cutting this on the Joy, size it down a tiny bit so it will cut on your Joy mat. But I'm using the Maker, so I'll go ahead and click the Make It button. And I'm cutting on a mat. And now we have 3 mats. So we'll go ahead and mirror each one. Drag it away from the edges a little bit. And I wanted to point out on the red mat, well, let's start with the blue mat. So on the blue mat, you can see that the little thong and the star and stripe, on the blue mat, you'll see the little thong and the star layer, they are connected. On the red mat, the stripe layer and the little thong part are separate. And that's because we are going to apply the vinyl layers onto the Flip Flop keychain in a certain order, and we'll layer them to get our desired look. So that might not make sense now, but you'll see when we assemble these why they're separated like this. Let me go ahead and click back on the faux leather layer. Click continue. And now I'm going to cut these mats just like I did before, faux leather paper thin with more pressure, and repeat the cut as necessary for the faux leather mat. And I'm using glitter heat transfer vinyl for these 2, so I will use the glitter vinyl setting with default pressure and repeat the cut. So let's go ahead and we'll get those mats cut out, and I'll show you how to put together the Patriotic Flip Flop Keychain. So I'm just finishing weeding up the second layer of glitter heat transfer vinyl. I'm going to trim these shapes apart. So it's important not to trim apart the blue layer that's purposefully attached, and you'll see why in just a minute. But these other ones I can trim apart. You can trim a little bit of the excess clear cover sheet, but don't trim too much. Let's talk about the layering order that we're going to press our Patriotic Flip Flop Keychain in. So the first thing we're going to do is, let me see if I can show you this way. We're going to press down the red stripes first. Then we're going to layer on the blue layer. See how now that creates the blue thong over the red flip flop? And then we're going to add the red flip flop to this side. See how that works? Okay, so before we start that, I just want to mention this is glitter vinyl that I'm layering on top of glitter vinyl. And if you make a lot of t-shirts, you know that traditionally you don't want to layer glitter vinyl on top of glitter vinyl. But in this case, because this is a keychain and it's not going to get really heavy wear and tear washing in the washing machine like a shirt does, it's going to be just fine. So if you were concerned about that, I wanted to mention that. And then what we need to do now is match up our red layers. And the best way to do that is to use the little sides. Here, what I'm going to do is sort of dry fit this to make sure I have the right layers happening. And yes, that matches up nicely. Can you see that? There shouldn't be any white showing on the edges. Let me show you a little close up there. There we go. So again, our little Teflon sheet or butcher paper or parchment paper if you have it, easy press mini on low, and we'll press for about 10 seconds. We'll carefully peel back our cover sheet If when you're peeling, the vinyl lifts up, just press this right back down and press for a few more seconds. But that looks good. Now we'll add our blue layer. There we go. And then we'll add the little red thong part to this side. Again, we're always matching up the curve with the curve on the faux leather base. Isn't that cute? So I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Now that we've got both sides finished, what I like to do with any layered design with vinyl is I like to press one more time now that all of the clear cover sheets are removed, just a few seconds on each side to really make sure those layers are adhered together. Now we're just going to let this cool for just a second while I get my keychain and my glue ready, and I clean up a little bit here. So I'm going to use the silver keychain for this one, and I've already chosen some little tassels. I have some red, white, and blue. We'll see how many I end up putting on there, but those are kind of cute. And then for the yellow one and blue one that's gluing, I have two gold or yellow tassels. We'll see which one we want to use. So again, just the Fabri-Tac glue or any good fabric glue. We'll flip this over, slide our keyring on first. If you forget to do this, it's no big deal. You can always attach it after, but just be careful sliding the keyring onto this little faux leather bridge. As close as possible to the edge. We're not gluing the little bridge area. I start by going all around and then filling in. We'll fold over, press those glued parts together, try and get the edges nice and lined up. Check on both sides. And that looks really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and put this underneath the book, let this dry, both keychains dry for a few hours, and then we'll attach our tassels. So our keychains have been drying for several hours. Let's take them out from under the heavy book and see how they look. Oh, super cute. Super cute. So here you could see there's a little tiny bit of glue. Can you see that? That sort of seeped out the edge. You can either just sort of pull on it or you can trim it with some very small scissors. I like using these little 4-inch curved scissors. These are from Fiskars. I love these. Yeah, that looks really cute. And let's look at this one. Also super cute. So something I recommend doing is after the keychains have been drying for about 30 minutes, if you very carefully remove them, there might be some glue that has seeped out, and you can just kind of rub it with your finger or with like a damp paper towel, and you can get rid of it that way. Or if it has dried already, you know, when you remove it after a couple hours, you can sort of pick off the edges, as I mentioned, or trim them with scissors. So now we have our two keychains ready to go, and let me show you how to add an optional tassel if you'd like to. So let's see, I've got some that have gold tops, and these are the really long faux suede tassels. These are super cute. And the little key ring is too big to fit through the tassel hole. So I'm going to use a jump ring for that. This is an 8mm size. You could go bigger if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use my 2 pair of pliers and open up this jump ring and attach the tassel. Very easy to do. You could also attach little charms. There are a lot of cute summer charms out there. Really, it's your personal preference. That one looks really cute. And then for this one, I have red, white, and blue tassels, but it may be too much if I attach all of the tassels. I think I'll just do a white one. And there we go. Our Flip Flop keychains made with faux leather and a Cricut are complete. I hope you like this project and you're going to make some Flip Flop keychains yourself. Let me know in the comments which one you're going to make first, if it's going to be the patterned one or the patriotic one. If you liked these projects, I have so many more great faux leather keychain tutorials here on my channel. If you just keep watching, the playlist will start and the next project will appear. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification, and then you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.